Tell me, has this ever happened to you? Here you are, you're at your local store, you happen to be dropping in one day, and there's a new player at the store, someone who just bought a couple of trial decks, is super happy about the game, and then the owner of the store says, hey, you see that guy right there? He plays a lot of Dragon Ball. He can help you build your deck. You know, he's a nice guy, and he can even teach you how to play the game a bit. And you go, okay, yeah, sure, I got a couple minutes. So you put their 2 trial decks into something that resembles a decent deck, and then they tell you, oh, I already know how to play the game. I did the tutorial. And you go, oh, okay, fine. Then they ask to play against you, and then you proceed to whip out your tier 1 deck and trash them over and over again. You tell them about locals, their excitement seems to be a little less than before, and then you never see them again. Well, if that's ever happened to you, I got a deck for you today. By the way, I'm VG Time, and I'm here to bring you another deck profile, and this one is for the U3 leader, Paparoni. This leader has been, kind of downplayed when you consider how powerful the overall set is, but I'll show you why decks like this are important and leaders like this are important. Paparoni is pretty simple, straightforward leader as well as the archetype. What the archetype kind of does is a bunch of little things, but when put together, it comes out with something that's actually not that bad. So when he attacks, he draws a card, and then if you have the 3 main robots, which are Koitsukai, Panchea, or Bolerator, if you have one of each in your energy, battle area, Z energy, or drop area, then you are able to awaken by tapping 1, drawing 1, and taking your life down to 6. He is also able to awaken when you're at 4 or less life. On the backside, when he swings, look at the top 5 cards of your deck and he adds a U3 to your hand. And then he has an activate main when you have 3 or less life and 4 more energy. You're able to pay a red, send to the warp the 3 robots, and then play from your drop area a copy of Koitsukai, which is one of the combined robots. So the deck kind of is a combination of like Machine Mutants and Android 13. So let's go into the 1-drops. They have a lot of similarities to each other. There's one difference, and I'll go over that when the time comes. So basically, they all search the opposite copies. So Koitsukai can search for a Bolerator or a Panchea on play, Bolerator for Koitsukai and Panchea for Bolerator and Koitsukai. I played 3 of each because you don't really want to clog up your deck drawing cards that don't do anything but search each other. These guys do have really relevant effects though, which is that when they're under a Koitsukai or a Analyza, they give that card plus 5,000. Koitsukai, on the other hand, is slightly different. What he does is he has Union Absorb that allows you to put these guys underneath him from the battle area or the drop to play the Koitsukai from the deck or from the drop area. It's a very relevant ability and is one of the quickest ways to get this whole situation together outside of just having Koitsukai in your hand. Because this card exists and it can do that, you can kind of cheat on the number of Koitsukai that you play. Then we have the 3-drops. We play 4 copies of Panchea, 3 copies of Koitsukai, 3 copies of Bolerator. I was actually thinking about swapping it to like that. We'll see, but basically, if you have 2 or more U3, Ray U3 in your energy, these guys cost 1. Like, they get reduced per copy, but they can only be reduced down to 1. So usually by turn 2, these are 1-drops. This guy on play draws you a card. This guy top 5 searches for a Ray U3. And these are auto limit 1, so they don't let you just spam a bunch of them down on the table. Then Bolerator is different. Bolerator is a counterattack that you counterattack but it's a limit 1. And then it allows you to play him and he gains blocker. So that's kind of really cool. They all 3 have the same secondary auto, which is that when they're placed underneath a Koitsukai or an Analyza, they give -10 to one of your opponent's battle cards. That is actually pretty relevant because sometimes that's enough to make it so that other cards are threatening to that card. For instance, if you happen to have one of these on the table chilling, and you make one of the other guys and they have a 15k in rest mode, you go -10 that 15k and have your 10k be able to swing into it and present a threat, stuff like that. So they're all kind of cool, and again, pretty cheap engine. Still, again, debating on whether or not I want 4, but it's been played and testing pretty well at 4. Because one of the things that's kind of an issue about the deck is that the leader stops drawing on the backside. Sure, he searches, but searching doesn't get you to the other cards. So having cards that just raw draw is pretty good in those situations. So we've already been talking about him. We have Coiturator at 3. Again, debating on if I really need 3. When you have him able to go into it, and then you also have the leader able to make one later on. But Coiturator, you could pay for 1 as long as you have the same condition as the Awakening condition, which is a Bolerator, Pancha, and Koitsukai in the various areas. It requires you to have 2 or more energy, and you get to choose one of your robots and put it underneath him. And that's kind of cool because you can either give him plus 5k and make him a 20k, or you can make it so that he -10s the guy on the table and then he's able to swing into the guy. But usually you want to give him a little bit of power. The reason being is that he is kind of fragile at 15. On play, he has an auto that says that you could play a 1-drop U3 from your hand or drop area. So you would think that you would play one of the robots, but that's not what you really want to be playing. You want to be playing Paparoni himself. Best stressed man in U3. So Paparoni on play draws you a card, and then he has his activate main limit 1 that's sort of like a Union Absorb. Basically what he does is he chooses a Coiturator in play, he draws a card, places that card underneath him, and then you get to play the 8-drop Analyzer from your hand. It does have the restriction that you have to be at 4 or less energy, or else it'll be completely outrageous. But that leads us to the 8-drop Analyzer. So Analyzer allows you to attack battle cards in active mode as long as you have a Coiturator underneath him. And then on top of that, he has this cool auto that says that when he swings, if your opponent is at 4 or more life, you get to deal 1 damage to them. So this allows you to put pressure onto guys that you need to get rid of, pressure on your opponent because it is triple attack. And again, if he had any power boosts, it carries over to him. So if you had a Bolerator underneath him, now he's a 30k triple attacker. And then if you have another card that you have underneath him, or a way of getting other cards underneath him, they have an N-archetype way with an extra card and you can just put a bunch of cards underneath him. He could be a very threatening guy. The only issue with this guy, as well as any other card in this deck, there is 0 protection on these cards. So that's one of the things you gotta be aware of. Anyhow, continuing with our last U3 main deck card, I believe, we have 4 copies of Nairama. Nairama is there because our leader top 5 searches, so I wanted a searchable super combo. I didn't want to be in a situation where I would be top 5 searching, seeing super combos and getting pissed that I couldn't add them to my hand. This works at 4 or less life. Again, U3, so not only can you get it with that guy, but you can also get it off of the Koitsukai 3-drop. And just combo draw a card. It's always 10k, so if you needed to defend your life early, even if it's going neg, you could. But yeah, solid and all around solid. Of course, we are playing the Evergreen Unison for these current red decks. That says 4 Gogeta. 1-drops, these guys become 1-drops. Red deck that plays a bunch of 1-drops, you play this. He also presents a threat because you can -4 him as an activate battle and make it a 30k double strike. And because of that, people oftentimes will go after him instead of going after the rest of your board, which then in a way sort of protects your guys. We play Yamcha because we have the ability to. 3 copies of Wolfang Fist. This card is good even when it's not free because it hits so many random Z battle cards. 2 copies of Omen of Awakening. So I was looking for a counterplay to deal with floodgates and things like that, but this guy is even better because even though you have to crit a life, it could just stop such a wide range of things, including the cards played by 21 and so forth, since it hits 20Ks or less. 2 copies of Kaioken for barrier removal. 1 copy of Dark Broly as our Overwhelm. 3 copies of our Token Negate. And then our ultimate is Pan. And Pan is actually pretty good right now, which is one of the reasons why I'm playing it. A lot of people are shying away from Unisons because they're afraid of Smoke Dragon and all the other Unison hate. So they're just usually swing with leader, you hit them with Pan, and it basically ends their turn. You still have to deal with the leader swing, but hopefully you're not at 1 when you're seeing the Pan. So that is the main deck. Next we're going to go into the Z deck and show you what those cards do and how they interact with the rest of the cards in the deck. Now we're on to the Z deck, and what we have here is one of the coolest Z stack combinations I've seen, which is 2 copies of Coiturator and 2 copies of Analyzer. So you will play Coiturator and it will put Analyzer underneath it. And then that's where the fun starts happening. So Coiturator says on play, you have to put, or you could put 1 Bolerator, 1 Koitsukai, and 1 Panchea from a hand battle area or drop area underneath it. It's pretty hard to fail to put the 3 cards underneath it. And now you have your pieces. It's a 20K with barrier for the turn. And of course you could pressure with it. If you have the robots underneath it being, whether or not it's Bolerator or Panchea, it could be up to 30,000 swinging, which is good pressure. And then it has this really cool activate main where you could pay 2 red, put 3 cards from underneath it to the drop, send a Paparoni on the field to the drop, and then you're able to play this guy out from underneath it, and then it goes underneath this guy. Now that's important that you do it like that because this allows you to swing, then you can activate that skill, it plays the guy, and then it places itself underneath. He on play chooses a Paparoni, Koitsukai, Bolerator, Panchea from all 3 areas, you drop, hand, or play. He puts it underneath him, and then he gains barrier for the turn. He's deflect, double strike, 25K base, and then he has a cool activate main where you can put a red U3 from your hand underneath him, and when you do so, if he has 6 or more cards underneath him, he gains dual attack. So normally he's like a 40K dual attack double strike, but it doesn't just stop there. When he attacks as an auto once per turn, for every 2 cards underneath him, he gives -30 to one of your opponent's battle cards or unisons. So he could use the clear board on the first swing, which is really, really strong. And again, he's swinging twice for 40, and it's nothing to sneeze at. What I like to do is wait until turn 3 to play him, save my awaken, and go into this guy. And then that's usually a lot of pressure to put on somebody, especially when a lot of these decks take themselves down to like a 6 or whatever, and you are able to pressure with little dudes on the way. So usually on turn 2, I like to go Unison, and then use the Unison and the leader to pressure on my turn 3 to start out with. Go into this guy, swing with a big swing, go into this guy, and get 2 big swings out of it. So that's how that kind of works. But another thing that's cool about these guys, well, at least the Coiturator, is that you don't necessarily have to go into the Analyzer. And where it comes into play is that you look at the board, you have a Paparoni in play, and you're at 4 more energy. You can pay 2 to make a Coiturator, do your whole thing where you put cards underneath it, and then you can pay 1 energy using the 1-drop Paparoni to place the Coiturator underneath him, and then when you do that, you go from your hand into the 8-drop. Now the 8-drop could be, 35 to 40k depending on what the situation is, and when you do that, it just makes him so much beefier, so much more buff. So you get to then swing 3 times with a bigger Analyzer 8-drop. Defender of Earth, great card, we all know that. And 2 copies of Vegeta, Rush Attack, SSB Vegeta, which again, it's a staple red card in your Z deck. So that's kind of how all this works. I'll catch you again next time, and this is VG Time signing out.